briefing as well as Dhamma talk. The first sitting session labeled as guided meditation, but I doubt whether you need any guidance. We know where to sit comfortably, keep the arms and the legs in a relaxed way, and keep the upper part of the body erect but not rigid, and then try to be familiar with your primary object, maybe the breath or rising and falling, or just be aware of the present moment. And just as a guidance, I will count the bell. And that will is a familiar bell, familiar singing bowl sound. And as the sound wave fades off, you will just come back to your present moment awareness. Till the second bell goes, that indicate the end of the sitting session. break and then we start the talk. Friends, please take a seat to start the Dhamma talk and comfortably take a seat and give the consent with 3 times sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Tassa bhagavato sambuddhassa namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa so tata sato viharanto tam dhammang panyaya pavichinati pavichayati parivimansang apajjati dhamma vinaya sambojjhango tasmin samaye bhikkhuno araddo hoti iti. Dear venerables, Dhamma friends, we are advancing along this particular sutta, namely Anapanasati Sutta, appear in the Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta number 118, 118, and that allows us to understand the basic and basic grounds of what does it mean by mindfulness and how does, when someone is persistently and sustainability, growing mindfulness, advancing mindfulness, how does it fulfill the full foundation of mindfulness, and as advancing, how the 7 factors of enlightenment. So when enlightenment factors grows, the basic thing we wanted to understand is 7 factors of enlightenment. So far, for the last, during the last 2 talks, we try to understand as much as possible the meaning, the characteristics, the functions, and its proximate causes, and how to understand the mindfulness away from other mental concomitants. So to get a brief summary, when the mind is not mindful, it is just wobbling and just superficial and play around the objects arising there and there. So this is what we call uncultivated mind, unmindful mind, or absent-minded or unmindful mind. Knowing the disadvantage of that, we people try to sort out the benefit of mindfulness, whereby we appoint one particular object, one particular kammatthana, point of reference, and try to be with it as a restraint. To prepare or to facilitate that, first we restrain our moral restraint, not to kill, not to steal, not to have sexual misconduct, and the verbal discipline as a background. And with that, we try to give some restraint to the mind, whereby not to play with all the objects arising and passing away, but to select one particular object of meditation, and try to discipline it, try to restrain. So that is the agreement we are signing with the Buddha. Buddha, after so much of experimenting, he suggests few topics. As far as the Theravada tradition is concerned, there are 40 objects of meditation, and for that particular sutta, the Buddha selected the in-breath and out-breath as the primary object. So when we are trying to keep that primary object in view with, in face to face with, we find even though we are somewhat restrained in the morality, the precepts, the disciplining of the mind, restraining of the mind is not so easy, not to talk about immoral mind. Even after the moral restraint, we find it so that we keep on applying our thoughts to that particular primary object of meditation. And it is like archery. The amateur person is learning how to shoot to the particular target. Target is fixed. So you keep on either throwing knives or archery or target shooting, keep on practicing. Very difficult for someone to have the shooting into the target at the beginning. That is natural. And when you keep on practicing, occasionally it hit the target, but not up to the mark that you expected. So when you keep on practicing, the number of hits or frequency will be increasing, whereby you will develop kind of a skill, not by theoretical understanding, but by trial and error. When it's happening, now we are in the second day in our retreat, we have done it, and therefore we have our own experience, how difficult or how possible to keep the target in view. So whenever the mindfulness sets in, starting, mind, instead of jumping from one object to the other, try to be with the primary object as you keep on applying your thoughts. This is one kind of a mental concomitant. It's called vitakka, the applying thoughts. You keep on shooting to the primary object, either in-breath or out-breath, as and when it happens. So while it is happening, if it is successful, if the mind is sequentially be with face to face with the primary object, then only then you can understand when the mind is with the in-breath, you verifically, you can understand this is in-breath and it is not out-breath. And immediately the in-breath gives into the out-breath, and there again you are face to face with the out-breath, and you understand the discrimination between the in-breath and out-breath, and understand this is not the in-breath. So likewise, more you keep the primary object in view with, in face to face with, if an inquiring mind or analytical mind is catalyzed, you may see the difference between the in-breath and out-breath. It is happening in three ways. First thing is, you may understand your frequency with the breath increasing. I am basically with the breath rather than with the external sounds and the bodily pains and the thoughts and other objects. And the second thing is, you will understand where the most prominently touching point, the pivotal point, where the breath is touching. Usually, according to the anatomy of the human beings, that may at the end of the nostrils or top of your upper lip. And once that is also confirmed, you will understand, even though mind is focus with the tip of your nostril, the in-breath experience is different from the out-breath experience. So therefore, understanding it is the breath, not the object. And the second thing is understanding it is happening in your particular place of your body. And the third thing is the in-breath versus out-breath is a kind of mastery or completion that you are familiarizing the breath and your mindfulness is sustainable. So this understanding the in-breath versus out-breath and its touching point is a then and there experience, and that is the point where the Buddha hint you. Now the mind is changing or slowly shifting from the mindfulness enlightenment factor to the inquiring enlightenment factor. For that, the observing mind and observed object must be in view with. So that is why daily in the sitting, in the early part, you have to discipline yourself. After a few minutes only, if you are successful, you can keep the breath in view with. So when that happens, you may see, you may be about to see the difference between in-breath and out-breath. And it is also happening in a number of ways. You see, in-breath itself is having the beginning, the middle, and the end. Out-breath also, the beginning part, the middle part, and the end. It is happening like a bell-shaped curve. So in one breath, there are two waves, in-breath wave, out-breath wave. And inexperienced mind or undeveloped mind only see the middle of the in-breath and the middle of the out-breath. When the air is gushing out or gushing in. So that's a start. When it's happening, you must understand that after the breath becomes so gross, so to say, after the in-breath becomes so gross, only our senses can feel the rubbing sensation and the friction. And then it disappears and then the out-breath happens. Early part, not so possible to discern. And once it comes to a gushing out-breath, then only the friction can feel. So therefore, the Buddha is asking and refining your instruction. It says if that is happening for consecutive ways, in breath, out breath, and again in breath, out breath, and again in breath, out breath. This is the time for investigation. See from where does this in breath start? Where does the out breath starts? And where does it fade off, fading off? More you go there, even though you are with the inquiring mind, you see the beginning of the in-breath and beginning of the out-breath is somewhat similar, even though the middle of the in-breath and middle of the out-breath is quite contrast. And as you progress, you see the disappearance, the end of the out-breath and the end of the in-breath also have some similarities rather than discrimination. If you take any phenomena, the beginning, the middle, and the end, middle is the what having its own intrinsic characteristics. It's a personal features, but the beginning and the end, they are not so common. As the breath become, as the mindfulness becomes sharp, your attention goes or your sensitivity improves, whereby you can experience a little bit of the early part of the in-breath and a little bit of ending part of the in-breath, little bit of the early part of the out-breath and the ending of the out-breath. When it is happening, number of changes happening physically. You can feel it in the body. The breath becomes shorter and shorter and shorter, or becomes somewhat subtle. And instead of discrimination or discretion, the similarities between the in-breath and out-breath going to set in. So this is somewhat confusing. So therefore, the practitioner, specifically the beginner, do not know if this lack of discrimination is due to lack of mindfulness, or due to lack of concentration, or lack of my enthusiasm. If it is so, he or she may get discouraged and get up and go. But it is a kind of a challenge. It's a kind of a hurdle. One has to go prepare and monitor it, see it, investigate it. Even the breath becomes subtle and subtle and subtle. Your dosage of mindfulness must be boosted. You must observe with boosted dose of mindfulness. Then only you can go deep and deep and deep. So this is the beauty of having focused or view with one object, and then only this penetration can happen. If you are changing the object again and again, hardly you can penetrate into one particular object. So therefore, taking one particular object and put that into two lobes, and understanding the discrimination and understanding, gradually they become somewhat merging each other. So this is the way the insight going to set in, insight going to penetrate into. So each and every time the particular yogi has to observe it, monitor it. Your yesterday and previous session meditation may or may not be helpful. You have to have their own alignment, then and their alignments. So when it is happening, by the time you have been sitting maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, other pains also may be disturbed. And sometimes the thinking, fantasizing, daydreaming also can come and cross your stream of consciousness. So therefore, as if you have, when your working day, you have taken your vehicle from the remote area, now slowly go into the busy street, and then you have to drive with other lot of traffics, because it is the busy time. And when it is happening, it's not like at your locality, a lot of other interference can happen. It is not one of your mistakes. It is not something abnormal, that is natural. So this is how investigation, enlightenment factor come into being. So when it is happening, even though outside sounds, even though the bodily pains, even though fantasizing, daydreaming, unmindfulness, and wandering mind happens, how much you can keep the view with the primary object is a kind of a hobby. It's a kind of a game one has to learn. For example, when you are sitting for 10, 20 minutes, bodily pains may creep in, and intensity of the pain will be slowly increasing, and the intensity of the in-breath and out-breath slowly decreasing, and at the cross-section, the mind play number of tricks. It says it is threatening. I have a pain. Should I change my posture? Or should I get up and go? Therefore, that if you have, naturally everyone is having the love for the body and the love for your life, definitely you will take the decision to change your posture or get up and go or get discouraged. So this is no difference between the male and female, no difference between the ordained and unordained, no difference between the Buddhists and non-Buddhists. That is the situation. When it's happening, you have to report it, you have to discuss it, and in the discussion, if your message is well communicated, you will be giving some hints, some tools. Yes, 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 pain is there, pain is increasing intensity, but the breath becoming subtle and low. But whatever the pain, you are not stopping the breathing. While the pain is challenging, excruciating, occasionally can you look at the breath? Can you observe the breath to see whether you are not breathing due to the that much of pain? So this is a kind of a game you have to play, and you see whatever the pain, breathing never stops, even though it is reducing the intensity. Maybe I'm fantasizing, daydreaming, thinking, all the things happen. But the primary object that we have selected is never stops. While thinking, it is happening. While you are listening, it is happening. While you are undergoing some pains, it is happening. That is why it's called kaya sankhara. Without the breath, the body cannot live. But your attention may be dragged into the sounds, the pains, and the thoughts. So if you are not well prepared, if you are not with prepared mind with that mindset, you will easily give up. That's why many people can't maintain this meditative life. So, but it is not an individual question. This is the way the human mind is working. At that time, your investigation aspect, whatever the pain, whatever the sounds and thoughts, breath never stops. Take the Take another example of walking meditation. While you are walking, you take the primary object as the touch of the soul, the left leg, right leg. It is not the air element, this is the earth element. And it is active uh, way of mindfulness. While you keep on walking, your eyes are open and you may see different things. And you may hear outside sounds or your own sound. And you may be thinking, you may be fantasizing. So when you keep on walking, these things will be sometimes intensified, and your experience of touch, left leg and right leg, become fading off. Or rather, some yogis reports now walking is effortless. Walking just happens. And meanwhile, the other signals like thinking, planning, daydreaming, sounds, and pains can happen. Yes, but whatever these distractions happen, to understand whether you stop walking due to listening a sound, or due to distracting pain, or due to thinking. No, the walking is happening. Then who is walking? Who is listening? Each two centers or one after the one before the other, or side by side. These things can happen. So instead of giving up to the just or the intensity of the object, you can just inquire, even though you are listening to some birds or other sounds, the walking is happening. So that experience of walking without your motivation, without your intention, or effortlessly, is the most natural walking. So if you can, if you are sharp enough to see that, let the mind to entertain a sound, for example. And while the mind take interest about the sound, maybe due to the intensity and how the walking happens, it is completely autopiloting. It's completely effortless. And there you observe yourself as a third party, as if you are walking under the CCTV camera. You can see you are walking. And meanwhile, attention is maybe with the sound or thought and pain. So one day, I told that that is the way you are walking once you get to become enlightened. You are no more, but walking happens. If you are not entertaining it, if you are not uh, vigilant about that, diligent about that, merely because of the sound wave is more intensive, or pain is more intensive, or thought is more intensive, as you are losing something. So therefore, let the distractions happen, or let the unmindfulness happen, but you have to understand your inquiring mind now diversified. While be with the sound or pain or thought, still you can observe the effortless walking, how it happens. So this can be extended when you are in the day-to-day activities also. When you are doing the normal routine work, even though you wish to be mindful, often it is carried off due to the different other objects. And meanwhile, your primary task may be happening in the autopiloting. If you are not mindful, that is the way it happens. Now, due to your mindful inquiring nature, it also come into being. You can be with that, you can be aware somewhat on this autopiloting mode. And unmindful people, they are just like robots. They are doing it, and ultimately, even if it's happening in a good or bad way, they have to accept the consequences. But that innocent person done it in the autopiloting mode. They don't know. But when you become mindful, you can understand how does it happen. It is not happening for the right beginning, right at the beginning of the walking session. It's happening in the somewhat middle. It will not happening in the right from the beginning of the sitting session. After a certain amount of familiarization, after a certain amount of establishment of mindfulness, it gives way, opening the way for this inquiry. And that is the part we try to uh, catalyze or intensify in mindful games. They are not with one single object. We give so much of distractions, and how much you can keep the track with your primary object. Even it's a failure, it is not to win or lose. It is to understand the different unexplored aspect of your life. So, this is the point that I've so far I discussed. Whenever you get agitated due to the secondary object, due to sound and thoughts and pain, instead there may be some sleepiness creeping, lethargic, and enough kind of feeling. And when that happens also, equal chances are there for you to lose the sight of your primary motive. Either it is maybe agitating or too much of energy, or maybe due to the lack of energy, to slack mind. So when these things happen, you have to balance like a right tightrope walking. And sometimes you feel sleepy, at sometimes you become overactivated. Under such circumstances, not to lose the track and to keep on observing that you see, unless otherwise this capacity is being catalyzed, you are no, in normal life walking the very narrow spectrum. It is not diversified. It is not ready for challenges. So therefore in mindfulness, even though it is labeled as meditation, opening the avenues with different kind of challenges. So these parts, the second part, that is the investigation part, happening only for the consistent yogis or people you are pertaining or sustaining with the mindfulness. So therefore, the mindfulness itself is evolving. Earlier, the motto was one thing at a time and that done well. But when these different distractions happen, you have to keep the track with everything and still uh, maintain the relationship with the primary object. So I usually give the example when the newly married couple, when a mother going to have the first child, and definitely she will give the priority and most of the time for the child. So therefore the relationship with and the love and everything is very strong. Imagine the second child and then how to relate with the first child and to the second child. How to relate with the husband. How to relate with the other relatives. How to relate with other office, peer group, and the third child. But America is nothing to worry. You never go beyond two. Usually, the population-wise, two people married, but their average child birth rate is 1.5, not 2. So it is dwindling kind of a nation. But imagine my mother had 11 children. I am the number 9. So when I come, there are 8 children seeking her love. And my things were done by my elder sisters and the elder brothers. They were bullying me and hitting me like a football. So I have no any monopolization of the monopoly to the love of my mother. My father is far distant. He's like a master. He's always treating with the whacking back with the stick. But we have that relationship. So likewise at the beginning you have one child and the 2 child, 4 children, 3 children, 4 children, endless. And the Buddha is omniscient. He can tackle endless amount of objects, but still keep the track with the primary object. And that is how you can see the evolution of the primary object, and you can see the evolution of the mindfulness, evolution of your mind. You won't believe the capacity. It has so much of capacity, but you must not tread it. You must not challenge it. You must let it happen in the natural way. This is how, as you keep on practicing mindfulness, you have to have the mindset, be prepared. Don't consider these secondary objects and tertiary objects as enemies. They are kind of a question paper to you to go to the next grade. If you answer properly, you will pass into the next grade. And then another tough question paper will come. And then if you are successful, you will pass into the next grade and still tougher. But meanwhile, the nature of your meditation will start as the mindfulness enlightenment factor, metamorphosize, shed off the old skin like a reptile, and then another skin happen. That is called investigation as enlightenment factor. That's the way it's happening. And we can put it in another way. As far as you are mindful, you keep the present moment awareness, keep the stream of consciousness, not to arouse unarisen defilements. Your morality, your transgressional kind of defilement, 100% cut off. But according to the Buddhist way of explanation, you have already developed, already accumulated or habituation, old mistakes, defilements. They are waiting till a good opportunity happen to pop up. So when the mindfulness is keeping the track with the present moment awareness, the old one that your direct dispositions and personality traits may pop up. So if you are going to hate them, if you are going to ill-treat them, you will not understand who am I. You will not understand what I am. When the then and there defilements are being restrained, these personality traits, your psychological wounds, your childhood abuse, and your hatred, and your hidden love, desire, all these things will get a chance to pop up. And that will be well treated if you can expose them, if you can write them in your interview report, if you can relate it to your advanced yogis or to your master, so you are slowly opening to your subconscious for the Western way of psychology, slowly opening to your subconscious. So this was, what is my limited understanding, done by Sigmund Freud by hypnotizing. Keep the present moment awareness calm and let the other things happen and catharsis happen. He or she will start talking about what is the situation, and with number of sessions only can go to your anything obsession, anything suppressed happen due to your childhood experience or from the Buddhist past life, and short memories, your habits can come. So therefore, it's a kind of digging a tunnel to see your subconscious. So it's a challenge. It is a kind of an investigation, and that investigation, no one can do it for you. You have to do it. So when you are doing, you feel threatened. You feel ill-equipped. You will not prepare. And that is why you must have energy. You must have that inquiring mind. And that is one of your birthrights. Unless otherwise you catalyze it, they will not bloom. So therefore, if you are associating senior members, senior yogis, you can see they are really living the life, not avoiding. not escaping. Whenever possible, let them happen. And let the mindfulness to tackle it. Not expecting only the primary object. All the interaction, all the interruption can happen. You tackle as you like. You can't tackle everything. So therefore, you see patterns there. You see patterns. I am a kind of a person, when I am sitting in a group sitting, I am distracted by sounds. But my person sitting behind the side, he is complaining thoughts. He is complaining pains. His problem is not the sounds. And when I complain, he says, I don't know. That was not distracting. So when we are doing a group sitting and listening to others' interview reports, we can see even though we are eating from the same uh, table, we are serving our plate in a different way. When we go to the buffet arrangements, see, two people never served equal kind of plate. And what you are commenting is what you selected. You can't comment about the table. It's a full of items. But if someone is observing, he or she can say that particular person is always selecting these kind of food. The other person is not, is different. We are all eating from the same table. So likewise, the samsara is a buffet diet, buffet table. What you pick is decided, pre-decided, no escape. And sometimes you do not know. So when you have one primary object, when you have the meditative life and how we call it, mindfulness, you get the chances. Therefore, not only your internal observation, you have to have the observation of the others and the peer group also, and the involvement of the teacher and the theory, and your deductive knowledge and the openness. That openness in this situation becomes humbleness. You must not be adamant. You must not be telling, no, 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 this is not me. I am that you are accusing me unwantedly. Just accept it. So the character of mindfulness, it is called choiceless awareness. You have to have this vigilant awareness, but do not have entertained premeditated ideas or any choice. Let the choice happen and don't decide. So that's all for the talk. Thank you very much for your listening. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.